Welcome back to our tutorial series. In this video, we're moving on to the next step, which is exporting and importing data, or more generally, export and import scripts. Up until now, we've talked about creating all of our data inside ItemBase, how to set it up, how to visualize it, how to inspect it, how to customize it, and how to make it your own. Now there are two important scenarios we need to cover: importing data and exporting data. Importing data is useful when you already have external data that you want your warehouse to be populated from. For example, if you're working on an existing game that was built before using ItemBase, and you want to bring that data in. Exporting, on the other hand, is about delivering files to your development team. Your warehouse is your source of truth. It contains all the information about your game, but your engineers need that data in specific formats so they can use it inside the game. Doing this by hand is usually a painful and error-prone process. So, this video is about solving that. Normally, we would start with imports and then move on to exports, but here we'll do the opposite. We'll start with exports because imports are actually the simpler part. There are two main ways to export data from your warehouse, and this is where ItemBase really shines. Your development team usually needs data in a very specific format. Maybe they have Unity scripts that read certain files. Maybe they work with CSV files, JSON files, XML files, or even custom formats. Engineers are comfortable with these formats. Game designers usually aren't, and that's completely fine. Designers prefer working in tools like Excel, or ideally, directly in ItemBase. But once the data lives inside ItemBase, you still need a way to get it out in the exact format your engineers expect. A very common question is, do you support our format, or do you support our engine? The answer is yes, because ItemBase is extremely configurable. You can export your data in almost any format you need. Let's look at a concrete example. Let's say our engineers ask us for a list of boosts. The game needs a file that contains all boosts so it can load them at runtime. As you've seen in previous tutorials, our boosts are not simple. They don't just have names and rarities, they also include metadata with gameplay stats. Now imagine the engineers give us a very specific requirement. They say, we want this as an XML file and it has to look exactly like this. They want a root element called boosts. Inside it, they want multiple boost entries. Each boost must have an ID, a name, and a rarity. Inside each boost, there should be a stats section, and inside that section, there should be values for attack, health, defense, and luck. They don't care about price. They don't care about other internal fields. This is all they want. So now we have a clear specification, and our job is to make sure our boosts are exported exactly in that format. To do this, we go to Concept Types and edit the boost concept type again. This time we scroll down to the export configuration. There are two ways to export data. One is directly from a concept type, and the other is using general import and export scripts. In this case, the engineers just want a simple export of boosts. They don't want a combination of multiple concept types, so we'll use an export config directly on the boost concept type. The export config uses an LLM-based script generator. All we need to do is provide an example and explain what we want. So we tell it, output XML that looks like this based on all boosts. That's it. We generate the script, and as you can see, it creates a working export script automatically. We don't even need to read the code. The system already understands how our data is structured, including our stats object with attack, health, defense, and luck. We save the configuration, click export, and download the file. When we open it, we can see an XML file in exactly the format the engineers asked for. It includes the ID, name, rarity, and a stats section with attack, health, defense, and luck. Now maybe we notice something we don't like. For example, the ID is a generated unique value, but we actually want it to be the SKU. No problem. We go back to the export config and simply tell the AI that the ID should use the SKU instead. We regenerate the script, save it, and export again. Now the file uses the SKU as the ID, which is much nicer and more readable. This export script is now saved. It doesn't regenerate every time. If it worked once, it will keep working reliably. And if the engineers ever change the specification, we don't need to redo everything by hand. We just explain the change and regenerate the script. Next, let's talk about custom export scripts. Sometimes, what you want to export isn't tied to a single concept type. For example, engineers might ask for a JSON file that simply reports how many boosts and how many currencies exist. For that, we create a general export script. We go to Scripts under Automation and create a new export script. We describe what it should do, count boosts and currencies, and output the result. We generate the script, save it, run it, and download the file. When we open it, we see exactly what we expect, a JSON file showing the number of boosts and currencies in our data. Now let's look at a more advanced example. In this case, the output is a CSV file with counts and percentages. If we wanted JSON instead, we could simply say so. Now that we've covered exports, let's move on to imports. What if we want to bring data back into ItemBase? For example, maybe we exported boost data, someone edited it externally, and now we want to update our warehouse. We create an import script, we provide an example input file and explain how to read it. We tell the script how to match boosts by SKU and how to update their metadata. Specifically, we tell it to read the stats values attack, health, defense, and luck, and update the corresponding boost concepts. We generate the script and run the importer. If it fails the first time, that's okay. We can adjust the instructions, regenerate the script, and try again. Once it succeeds, we can go back to the concept warehouse and verify that the stats have been updated correctly. For example, we might see that a boost's attack or health value has changed based on the imported file. And that's it. We now have a complete pipeline, exporting data, creating custom export scripts, and importing data back into the warehouse. That covers exporting, custom exporters, and importing. Let's stop here.